Well, Ashton, one day World Cup on the horizon. Tell us from your perspective, with what you do out there, what's the biggest challenge ahead on those decks, in those crowds, against those players that you're going to be playing against?
I think bowling in India is always a challenge, particularly against the subcontinental players, because they're really good players to spin. Everyone thinks it spins a lot in India. Sometimes it does on some of the one-day wickets, but a lot of them are dead flat. Some of them are real shiny. So I think the biggest challenge is like working out really quickly what your role is that day, and then bowling in a partnership with your other spinner. Usually you play two, obviously, over there. But sometimes on a flat one, I might not play, and Zamps will just play. So working out the role, adapting quickly and being effective.
With spin bowling, and it's still called spin bowling on those decks, what's more important though? Actually getting the ball to turn or the pace variation of your delivery?
Oh, it's both. I think when the ball turns, it's usually because of the wicket. There's not many guys who really spin the ball a lot on a flat wicket, particularly in white ball cricket, because you're bowling a touch faster. Pace variation, being accurate on that one spot, being a little bit unpredictable. Yeah, I think that's the most important. So your length control and then your subtle nuances in that. That's the key.
And depending on at what stage of the innings the other bloke at the other end of the wicket is in his innings as well.
And we're seeing a lot more spin in power play as well, which is really cool. Being effective with the new ball is starting to become really important for spinners, because some guys have glaring weaknesses against spin bowling at the top of the order. So yeah, you sort of got to be ready all the time.
Are you okay to open the bowling?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's really cool. I love bowling arm balls, like being able to swing the new ball. You can really get it to hoop a long way, and that can be tough to face. So I like that.
Swing bowler as well. Everything.
Yeah.
Virat Kohli. What about when he's swinging with the bat and in full flow?
Oh, he's a gun. He's obviously a very good player. He's not the most intimidating one to bowl to. Like, there's more intimidating, like bowling to Hardik Pandya is harder than bowling to Virat, or someone like a Rohit or a Shubman who can really belt you out of the ground. The hardest part about Virat is you can't get a dot on him.
Yeah.
So, like, you feel like you can never build pressure on him. And then when he gets into his innings, he's really hard to stop. So that's the toughest part about bowling to Virat. Whereas some of the other guys, you're pretty afraid they're going to belt you out of the ground. But it's a great challenge and it's a bit of fun.
But in that, you always hear spinner doesn't mind going for the odd six because he knows you one little mistake away from the batter and getting him out because he's put so much into that shot. Do you feel like that though when the ball's sailing over the fence?
Oh, it's not always so much fun when the ball's sailing over the fence. No, not if they're doing it all the time. It's not fun at all. But it's always good if you've got a plan and you try and execute that plan, and you might execute the ball and they hit it for six. As long as you and your captain are aligned and your captain understands that it might not be a day where you go for 4 and over. It might look more like 6 or 7 sometimes. But if you can get a few wickets in there and change the swing of the game, that's what's important.
Give us a form guide. Who is likely to perform at this World Cup in your opinion?
Oh, I think the usual suspects, to be honest. I mean, India, obviously. Being in India, they're so strong over there, and home support. Their crowds are incredible, and they get behind India so well, and they love performing. They're superstars over there. Pakistan are always very dangerous. I think they've got some great white ball players, Babar Azam, Shaheen Afridi. They've got a couple of good spinners too, which could be a handful on those decks. England always do well in the white ball format. They just go so hard and play such an aggressive brand of cricket. And I think we played really well last series against India, won the series on some tricky surfaces. I think that'll be the big challenge. And the smoky is always how South Africa goes, I think.
Where's 50 over cricket in your opinion? Like in the landscape, everyone obviously T20 franchise cricket popping up everywhere. Just had MLC or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Major League. And then you've got Test cricket, the priority for a nation like Australia. But where's 50 over cricket sitting in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It sort of sits in the middle a little awkwardly. World Cups are really important, and everyone wants to watch World Cups, and all the players really want to play World Cups. So a lot of emphasis gets put on them. Maybe you see a few little try series here and there die off, I think, because there's so much T20 around the world, and a lot of players really do want to play that. And it's for a number of reasons. It's great entertainment for the crowds, but it's also great for the players to look after themselves and build a great life and extend their careers too. So more players are sort of heading that way, I would say. And obviously we're really trying to build up Test cricket as much as we can. So there's got to be space, and there's not as much time for all three formats. And the one that sort of falls away a bit will probably be the one days. But as long as good emphasis gets put on the World Cups, and it's a great standard of cricket there, I think it'll survive.
Have you built a good life for yourself playing cricket for as long as you have so far?
It's I'm very lucky. You know, I love playing cricket, and I love doing something that I've always wanted to do. I do it because I love it, and the trade-off is, you have to sacrifice a bit, but that's great in terms of building up a life. And these are my best years to do as well as I can, and support a future for my family and stuff. So I'm very proud of that. And you can't have it. You can't have everything in your favour. You know what I mean? You're going to be away from home for a while. You're going to miss birthdays and weddings and things like that, but it's all for a really good reason.
You can't have a motorbike.
I can't have a motorbike.
Valentino Rossi over here. That's the hat, everyone. He's wearing
a beautiful hat.
The
Valentino
fluoro yellow
Rossi.
46, the famous number in motorcycle racing, the legend.
Yeah.
You can't ride a bike though, can you?
I
You're
can't.
not allowed to.
I just wear the number on my back when I play for Australia. So I've got 46 on my back as well.
Because of him?
Well, yeah, it's part of the reason. When I got offered the numbers, it was like 40, 50 something, and they said 46, and I sort of did a double take, and I was like, give me that number. He's a bit of an inspiration because he's so passionate.
Yep.
Brings so much excitement and flair to the sport, and he just loves it. He's an entertainer, and I love that, and I'd love to try and bring that to cricket.
But you can't ride a motorbike.
I can't ride a motorbike, man. It's
Why?
It's
Why?
too dangerous.
Is it because your lovely wife has said no, or is it because your boss has said no?
I love the thought of it, and there was a time where I thought, maybe I could just get one and ride it around my neighbourhood. Yeah. And my wife very quickly shut that down. I've got a baby on the way.
Yeah.
I need to be around, so eliminating the danger.
What about a moped?
Look, it's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Mitch Marsh rides one.
Yeah?
You can imagine, massive guy. He looks like a polar bear on this little scooter. It looks pretty funny heading down to Cottesloe Beach, but it's pretty cool. He calls it Scoot Scoot.
Does he?
Yep. Shout out to Mitch.
He's the first Australian cricket captain, I think, to ride a Vespa.
Brilliant.
So,
Tucks a surfboard on the side every now and then as well. He's got
gets
the
a
look down.
surfboard on that thing.
Yeah, I think so. He might even tuck it under the arm. It's that big. But
His big arms.
maybe like a vintage Vespa or something. I'll put a 46 on the side of it.
You're allowed with that? Something that doesn't get over 60 k's an hour?
I think that'll be okay. I don't think you have to have like a specific motorbike license for them either. Because I've never ridden a motorbike before. I just want to do it.
Fair enough. It doesn't look like the best lifestyle choice for a professional athlete, though.
No,
I'm going to be honest.
it would be a poor decision.
Cricket Australia, I don't think it'd be...
Oh, they'd be mortified. Could you imagine that?
I don't think they're mortified. I think it'd be more than that. I think you're getting a call from HR pretty quickly.
Yeah, either that
somehow.
or...
Mate, the India tour, how do you look back on that experience? And I remember that interview that you got door stopped at the airport.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, this is going to be tricky for him. And then you were like, oh, it happens. And you were so calm about it.
Yeah, I was calm
putting on
about
an act,
it.
or was it fair dinkum?
No, it's just how I am. But I've put a lot of work into that, being consistent in my mindset every single day and focusing on what's important, what's in front of me. There's some things you can't change, and things didn't go in my favour in India. I wasn't bowling as well as I needed to be. That was the feedback I got, and go home, play some cricket, because there were some white ball games to play. And that was my goal from then on. It's like, right, move forward. You make the best of it that you can. This is my situation. Right, what can I do? How can I improve? Get better, give as much as I can. When I got home to WA, went back to India, and I played the third one day and bowled really well. It's challenging. It tests your resilience massively. I think the ability to just tolerate like that period of discomfort, but then come out better on the other side.
So that moment when you get told, it was out of nowhere, was it? Or did
no,
you
there
feel
was discussion. There was a lot of care and discussion in it.
Okay.
It probably it sounded worse than it was.
We don't hear those discussions outside the bubble. You don't know that you're having those discussions. And
my relationship with the coaches and selectors is really good, and it's really open, and it's quite honest, which is good. You don't want anyone to beat around the bush, but I also need to be honest in that as well. Yep. But I think, I came out of that really well. I'm pretty proud of how I handled it. Yeah,
it was one of the more remarkable interviews I've actually seen from a player that in a situation like that. But the necessary changes that they wanted have they been easy to implement, or were they worked on straight away and you felt like it was an easy process to do, or did you actually not avoid making those changes, just get better with what you thought you had to get better with? If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Thank you.
There are a couple of key elements, like maybe a technical element. I did my side, like I tore my side really badly in a game against Sri Lanka before that Sri Lanka Test series, which I was going to be a part of. Using your front side as a spin bowler is really important because it lines everything up. You get drop on the ball and all of that stuff. And since then, my ability to like consistently bowl those balls that you need to bowl in red ball cricket was sort of wiped out because there's a lot of fear in like hurting my side again, I think. So yeah, I think I made a technical change in using my front arm more so I could engage my front arm, immediately put that into play when I played for WA. It worked out really well. Did it again in India. And it worked nicely. So that's all I tried to do.
Cool. 10 years ago, obviously, there was a certain test match that you jumped out at everyone for your work with the bat. Well done on that, by the way.
Thanks.
How do you reflect on that stage of your life and what you were then as opposed to what you are now?
It's crazy thinking back to that. At the time, you don't feel it's such a big deal. But then when you look back on it and sort of, first Ashes test in England, I was 19 years old, and the significance of that might get lost on you a bit when you're 19 because you're young and you're just going for it. Looking back on that, it was, a massive achievement. I'm really proud of that. I think I got the chance to entertain and excite a lot of people, maybe inspire a few people, give people some great memories, really positive memories looking back on that. Really proud. I had my family there. That's sort of the proudest part. I can remember exactly where they were sitting. If I close my eyes, I can see them in my mind. In the crowd at Nottingham. I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's really nice. It was a real whirlwind, for sure, but I was ready for it. I was playing really well, and then things didn't go so well afterwards. But I mean, it happens when you're learning a game and you're 19. You just want to come out the other side.
Yeah, and you did.
Yeah.
If you could give that kid some advice, what would it be? Not that you can, unless you developed a motorbike that could go back in time and you're allowed to ride it.
If I could give a 19-year-old Ash some advice, just keep going for it. I think keep attacking it.
Yep.
It's really easy to try and be safe after that and try and survive, but that's really not fun because after that I try to learn my game and survive and just stay in the mix of professional cricket, The fun stuff is when you look at what could go right rather than what could go wrong. And you choose that mindset, and that's when you free your body up and your intuition just comes out and things just happen and you can't explain it. But it's the beautiful feeling that you get from playing sport, particularly at the highest level, because that's when you really start to entertain and put on a show, I think. So, think of when you start to think, what could go wrong here, flip it around, think of what if it goes really well.
With different words, Nathan Lyon has that kind of mindset as well. What do you look at and what do you think of when you see a guy like that and what he's achieved in the game and on the cusp of 500 test wickets, which is an extraordinary number?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal effort, particularly as an Australian spinner. He's taken a lot of wickets in Australia, and he's probably been the only one that's bowled in the style that he's bowled in. It's just really hard to do, get as much bounce and spin as he does. He's worked really hard on his stock ball. He talks a lot about that, and that's what's brought him a lot of success. He's a real master of his craft. And to have as much resilience as he's had throughout his career, to be able to actually stay on the park and do that, is incredible. Unfortunately, he did his calf really badly. But, it's taken that long for something like that to happen. And that happens in sport. It's part of the game. But, it's phenomenal.
Any advice he's passed on to you that's sunk in?
He's really big on trusting your best ball. Like he always says that. He says best ball all the time, and trusting your skill set and being really staunch on that. When things are hard, go back to what you do the best and believe that can be better than the opposition.
Fair enough. BBL. You guys again, isn't it? Should we just give you the trophy and see who's going to play you in the final?
We're confident, but we never think like that. What we've done really well is we don't look backwards too much. It's always how can we improve. I think it'll be pretty easy to sit back and rest on your success and hope that everything goes the same. And But every year we try and get a little bit better. We try and do things a little bit differently because the game is changing rapidly. It's consistent improvement from players and staff, and a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
We're all heading in one direction together,
Mm.
and it's a really special time to be a part of the Scorchers.
Other team to look out for?
Sydney are always good.
Sixers.
Yeah, the Sixers are always a tough game. And, I always think the Stars are a tough game as well. It's just something about playing those two teams that makes it difficult, but they're very good.
Fair enough. And the batter in the BBL that you fear the most, or not fear, but possibly think things are out of my control as opposed to any other opponent?
Australian batters. Gee, that's a good question. I think if Marcus Stoinis gets going, he's pretty hard to stop.
Gets that strut happening.
Yeah, and he I know him really well, Stoin, and he's always trying to get better, and he's always trying to do something different with his batting and work on being a bit more destructive. And when he's in a mood, it's like it's unstoppable. So someone like Stoin is really difficult. He can change a game very quickly.
Ashton, thanks for your chat, mate, and good luck in the big games to come in the next few months.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate.